Today is Friday, March 14th. We'll tell you where Americans are bracing for what could be a historic severe weather outbreak. Also, more punishments for campus protesters and new questions about the future of a Ukraine ceasefire. Plus, the stock market's latest drop in the face of new tariff threats. A new TikTok feature meant to help teenagers put their phones down. And a festival that has millions of people celebrating all around the world. Those stories and even more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Today and tomorrow, more than 100 million Americans are in the path of a powerful storm. In fact, for parts of the central and eastern U.S., AccuWeather says this could bring the most significant severe weather outbreak of the year. The worst of it is expected from this afternoon through early tomorrow morning. Forecasts say the system could produce dozens of tornadoes, as well as 90-mile-an-hour winds, baseball-sized hail, blizzards, and wildfires. Today, the cities most at risk include St. Louis, Missouri, as well as Memphis and Nashville, Tennessee. Tomorrow, the greatest risk area includes New Orleans, Louisiana, and Birmingham, Alabama. The same system already hit the western U.S. with heavy rain, snow, and strong winds. A tornado was even reported in California, but thankfully, no one was hurt. Tens of thousands of workers who were fired from the federal government now have a chance to get their jobs back, though they're not exactly considered secure. This week, 2 different judges found the government did not follow proper legal procedure with mass firings, and they ordered dozens of federal agencies to rehire employees right away. But that's not to say these same employees can't be laid off, and more cuts impacting hundreds of thousands of workers could still be coming. Plus, the White House says it's going to fight the judge's orders in court, so stay tuned. Hundreds of protesters flooded the lobby of Trump Tower in New York City this week. They were demanding authorities release Columbia University student Mahmoud Khalil. Remember, the Trump administration has been trying to deport him for leading protests on campus, saying he expressed sympathy with Hamas, while Khalil's lawyers say they were anti-genocide protests. Regardless, Khalil is not charged with breaking any laws, and his supporters say his arrest is an attack on free speech laws. Nearly 100 Trump Tower protesters were arrested on charges like trespassing, and at this point, President Trump is still standing by Khalil's arrest, saying it's the first of many. Meanwhile, Columbia University is taking action of its own. The school announced it expelled or suspended some students who took over a campus building during protests last spring. They've been under investigation for a while, even before the Trump administration pulled $400 million in federal grants and contracts over anti-Semitism allegations. 60 other colleges and universities are also under investigation for the same things. In an unprecedented breakthrough, Armenia and Azerbaijan agreed to peace after nearly 4 decades of war. Their conflict first started with the fall of the Soviet Union, but the biggest issue between the two countries has been the region of Nagorno-Karabakh that sits between them. And now both sides have decided not to take up arms with each other while they work out a couple more formalities. Meanwhile, American diplomats are in Russia trying to get Russian President Putin to agree to a peace deal with Ukraine. But at this point, Putin says he can't get on board until certain conditions are met. Like he says, a ceasefire should, quote, remove the root causes of this crisis. Remember, Putin has said the reason Russia invaded Ukraine was to claim territory he believes is rightfully Russian, to stop NATO's expansion, to protect Russian-speaking populations, and more. Ukrainian President Zelensky called Putin's response manipulative by setting so many preconditions that he knows won't work instead of just saying no. So Zelensky is calling for more sanctions on Russia. The U.S. actually did just that yesterday, adding sanctions on Russian oil, gas, and banking. But at this point, Trump says he still sees good signals toward finalizing a ceasefire deal. Once again, President Trump expressed confidence the U.S. will be able to annex Greenland. This time it came during a meeting with NATO Secretary General, who visited the White House this week. Trump told him the takeover is needed for international security. NATO's leader just said he did not want to drag the alliance into the issue. Greenland's prime minister did respond, though, writing on social media, "Enough is enough." He says he's now asked to summon party leaders to formally reject Trump's plan. All major parties in Greenland's parliament have already said they do not want the territory to become part of the U.S. President Trump is also reportedly moving ahead on his Panama Canal plans. As NBC News reports, the White House told the Pentagon to draw up options to increase American troops there. The report cites officials who say the goal is to weaken China's influence. But at this point, Panama and China say there is no foreign influence. To be continued. More news still ahead, but first, a quick break to thank our sponsor. I admit it, I've held on to socks way too long in the past. It wasn't until I started getting holes in the toes that I realized, yes, it was time for an upgrade. And wow, I did not realize what I was missing. Bombas socks are so high quality, functional, and stylish. I love my Bombas socks, and I love that they have a sock for every occasion. For example, if you want to be more active this spring, Bombas athletic socks are a must-have. Their engineers have somehow created a blister-fighting, sweat-wicking sock that can help you thrive. Or grab their socks for your everyday errands with arch-hugging, cushioned pairs that'll keep you comfy. Whatever you need, Bombas has you covered. And of course, I love that every comfy pair you purchase, Bombas donates another comfy pair to someone facing homelessness. How great is that? Plus now, Bombas is going international. Enjoy worldwide shipping to over 200 countries. Head over to bombas.com/newsworthy and use our code newsworthy for 20% off your first purchase. That's Bombas, BOMBAS.com/newsworthy with the code newsworthy for 20% off your first purchase. Bombas.com/newsworthy and use code newsworthy. Now back to the news. It's looking likely that lawmakers will be able to avoid a government shutdown before tonight's deadline. The leader of Senate Democrats and other Dems decided to vote on the GOP bill to fund the government for the next 6 months. This comes just one day after he criticized the measure, saying he would not support it. Well, now, Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says as bad as he thinks the Republican bill is, a shutdown would be worse. So the Senate is now expected to move forward, and President Trump is expected to sign it. The bill freezes spending at current levels, but it also shuffles money around, so Republicans' top priorities get more funding, like border security and defense. And in one of the big sticking points for Dems, it gives the Trump administration more flexibility to downsize and dismantle federal agencies. Lawmakers have said they don't have a lot of options, though, since a shutdown gives President Trump that same power, perhaps on an even larger scale. They're set to vote on the bill this afternoon. Wall Street hit another new low this week. The S&P 500 sank 10% below its record, which was just set last month. And keep in mind, a 10% drop is a big enough deal that investors have a name for it, a correction. This is the S&P 500's first correction in 2 years. And this time, the losses came after President Trump threatened huge taxes on European wines and alcohol. That's on top of all the other tariffs that have either been threatened or gone into effect over the last week. Businesses also revised their earnings outlooks, and overall, they're not looking especially optimistic. Same with consumer confidence surveys that show Americans are starting to pull back spending. So all of this is now being reflected in the stock market. There have been big drops in the Dow and NASDAQ too, but it's worth noting the economy is still looking pretty strong for now. 2 reports came out this week showing milder inflation than what economists were expecting, and at this point, few analysts are actually expecting a recession. The FDA is warning about some popular acne products being recalled. They include Walgreens Acne Control Cleanser, Proactive Skin Smoothing Exfoliator, a La Roche-Posay acne treatment, and more. The problem is testing found a chemical associated with cancer at a level higher than what's allowed by government standards. But the FDA says if you've been using them, don't worry, your risk is still very low. You would have to use a lot of the product over a lot of years for there to be any kind of concern. So the FDA is asking stores to take the products off their shelves, but if you do have some at home, you don't actually need to do anything. TikTok has a new feature that could discourage the youngest users from late-night doom scrolling. It will kick in after 10 p.m. for any users younger than 16 years old. They'll see a full-screen wind-down message encouraging them to take a deep breath, exhale, and log off. It will also play calming music and one day include mindfulness exercises. Teens can ignore the notification, but they'll get hit with a second prompt. This week, TikTok also updated its family pairing feature to give parents more control over their kids' accounts. It now includes a time-away mode that lets an adult set a schedule for their child's access to the app. It also lets parents see who a child is following, who follows them, and who the child has blocked. It's time for the Hindu festival, Holi, also known as the Festival of Colors. Millions of people in India and other parts of the world will celebrate the start of spring today, along with love, happiness, and the triumph of good over evil. Holi's signature tradition is seen through people of all ages taking to the streets to smear colorful powders on each other. There are also bonfires, traditional sweets, singing, and dancing. Today is also Pi Day. We're talking about pi, the mathematical sign that represents the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. The most accurate value for pi is more than 62 trillion digits, but it's rounded to 3.14, which is why we celebrate every year on the date 3/14. One way to do so is to take advantage of discounts and deals for pizzas and pies, yes, the kind you eat this time. For example, 7-Eleven marks Pi Day with a deal on an entire pizza for rewards members for just $3.14. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, I want to talk about our sponsor, Ancient Nutrition. Collagen is not a miracle, but it is proven to help you look and feel healthier. And Ancient Nutrition makes a great high-quality version that has 10 types of collagen from 10 real food-based sources. I love that Ancient Nutrition's mission is to combine the best of ancient wisdom and modern science. Because yes, their multi-collagen advanced lean supplement is powered by clinically studied ingredients that promotes healthy weight management, building lean muscle, and more. Collagen can also reduce joint discomfort and improve the look and growth of your skin, hair, and nails. I know I've already felt a difference, and it's really simple to use. I've been scooping some into my morning smoothie, and I love knowing I'm doing something good for my body and my health. It's totally normal that our body's natural building processes slow down as we age, but that doesn't mean there's nothing we can do about it. So right now, Ancient Nutrition is offering 25% off your first order when you go to ancientnutrition.com/newsworthy. That's ancientnutrition.com/newsworthy for 25% off your first order. ancientnutrition.com/newsworthy. Now back to Feel Good Friday. When a video store in Idaho had to close, the owner made sure his best customer still had a place to shop. And now he has a mini shop just for her. For 15 years, Christina Cavanaugh went to Video Stop almost every day to rent a movie. She's 35 now, but she has Down syndrome and is mostly nonverbal. So when her mother heard her favorite store was going to close, she was distraught, worried about losing the highlight of Christina's routine. Thankfully, they knew David Cranning, who owned the store and did not want to leave the Cavanaughs in the lurch. So as he was packing up, he came up with a solution. Just about a week before closing up shop for good, he decided to move about 200 DVDs into a corner of his convenience store, including Christina's favorite Disney classics, so she could keep renting movies. He even made it look similar to how it used to be in the old store. An employee there nicknamed the miniature rental shop Christina's Corner. Now Christina is happy to continue her routine, and even though she has a hard time actually saying thank you, Cranning says no words are needed. He can see how much it means to her. We'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode, diving into how one of the most pivotal chapters in modern history, the COVID-19 pandemic, changed how we behave today, 5 years after it all began. Then join us again Monday for another Daily News Roundup. For now, thanks so much for listening and have a great weekend.